2024 was a wild year for us Riot MMO enthusiasts. Everything from the devastating blow of a project reset to the team starting to post new job listings in very, very impactful positions. 2024 has proven itself to be one of the most eventful years so far for the development of the project. And because of that, I want to do a year-end review of everything that we've learned in the past 365 days. I'll also be starting off 2025 with an everything we know about the project because, let's face it, last year's 2024, everything we know about the project, it's all completely changed now. As always, if you're interested in the Riot MMO, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video, comment down below, and let me know what you're looking forward to the most, whether it's Yordles or ERP down in the filthy slums of Zon. You let me know. I'll keep you updated. As always, this is your #1 spot for Riot MMO news. Let's jump right into 2024. At the beginning of 2024, we got what was arguably one of the best season start cinematics for League of Legends in recent years, which was unfortunately quickly shadowed by an 11% layoff of Riot Games' workforce. As far as the MMO is concerned, it didn't look like we really lost anyone working directly on the MMO during those layoffs, but very soon after, we would receive a devastating blow to the morale of us following the MMO project. On March 20th, Mark Tryndamere Merrill took to Twitter to post the following. We know many of you are hungry for news about the Riot Games MMO project, and we really appreciate your patience and the incredible support you've shown us so far. I'm writing to update you today on where we're at. He went on further to add, after a lot of reflection and discussion, we've decided to reset the direction of the project some time ago. This decision wasn't easy, but it was necessary. The initial vision just wasn't different enough from what you can play today. We don't believe that you all want an MMO that you've played before, with a Runeterra coat of paint. For me, I think they're specifically talking about a few things here. One, they want to make an MMORPG that is different from anything else on the MMORPG landscape. Right now, the MMO world is just inundated with tab-targeted, linear quest lines, and pretty much the same old thing since the release of World of Warcraft. We have seen a few other outliers in the MMO space, like Albion Online, Elder Scrolls Online, which features an action combat. New World, for example, is another great example of action combat. But beyond that, we haven't really seen anything that really differs too much from World of Warcraft. And Riot Games doesn't want to just make World of Warcraft, but with a Runeterra coat of paint. Now, nothing is for sure here, and Riot probably will never tell us except for maybe 10 years after the game releases in someone's book or something. But here's my idea of kind of the timeline of how this reset occurred and what maybe happened. First off, as many of you know, in January of 2023, so a little more than a year before this reset announcement happened, Greg Ghostcrawler Street departed from the project. Now, Greg Street has a very long history of working on tab-targeted MMOs, specifically World of Warcraft, and even after leaving the Riot MMO, went to start making his own tab-targeted MMORPG. Even during his interview with Canon, by the way, one of my favorite MMO creators, he said that he still thinks tab targeting is really the only possible combat for MMOs and that action combat just isn't there yet. And soon after his departure, we saw the Riot MMO team make this job listing for an action combat specialist. If you're curious about this job posting, make sure to check out this video up here in the top right corner. I'm not going to go over it in super detail in this video, but I think it is important for the timeline of the reset that happened this year. So basically, Greg Street left. They decided to go in the direction of action combat. And then about 8 to 10 months later, Tryndamere took to Twitter to say that they are changing direction. And I think that some time ago happened about mid 2023 when they did start changing things around to cater to a more action combat style within the game. I think just the biggest thing I want to make clear regarding the reset that happened is that it didn't happen when Tryndamere made the post on Twitter. It wasn't March 20th that they did the reset. And like he said in the thing, he said some time ago. So we'll never know exactly, but it wasn't right then. And I believe it was about mid 2023 when that happened. Later on in the Twitter post, he did say say that Fabrice Condominis would be taking over as the executive producer of the MMO. He would be coming from BioWare and EA and had a lot of work on Mass Effect. Resetting their development path also meant that they would be going dark for a long time, and he even said several years, which I thought was kind of humorous at best because they've always been dark. They've never really talked about anything regarding the MMO, but that's never stopped me from digging a little bit deeper and finding out as much information as possible. Problem is that they meant it. And from March until November of 2024, we pretty much had nothing. Absolutely nothing, dead radio silence until we got a couple new job postings at the end of the year, as well as some very interesting new hires on the project. The first job posting we had was for a principal UX designer on the MMO project, where they would focus on UI, presentation, interactions, and driving a great player experience for all of the systems within the game. And the second job posting we got was for a staff software engineer for Unreal Tools, which was a very interesting job posting because it did say that they were planning on moving into full production on the project, which for any of us who are obsessed with the project know that that is a step in the right direction and them moving towards an actual release of the game, hopefully in the next 20 years or so. Now, on the surface, 2 job postings in a single year probably doesn't look that good, but I think for me at least, the interesting part is that they do a lot of hiring internally that isn't posted on their public job board. And that is proven by these following new hires that we'll take a look at real quick. First, we have Orlando Salvatore, who I've spoken about probably far too much at this point, but he is coming from World of Warcraft, where he worked on some of their horizontal gameplay, as well as Plunderstorm, Mists of Pandaria Remix, Classic WoW. He's kind of had his hand in almost every successful aspect of World of Warcraft in the last few years. So big props, excited to see him on the team. And we also found a few people who are working on the project already for like 3 years that we had no clue about in the first place. One that I want to quickly touch on is Chris O'Neill, who's a level designer or game design architect on the Riot MMO. He is bringing experience from God of War Ascension, God of War 3, God of War Ragnarok, Metal Gear Solid 5, Perfect Dark, and the Napoleon Dynamite game. Jeez. And has been working on the Riot MMO now for 6 months. Now, most of those games in his project list are kind of linear, more action, story, adventure games. So it's curious to see where the direction he will have on the MMO is. I mean, he could be working on instance dungeons, which typically have a more linear approach, or maybe he's kind of branching out and making more open world stuff for the world of Runeterra. Or maybe the Riot MMO is going to be a linear game. We don't know. We're guessing, grasping at straws here, guys. But what I will say, guy's got multiple Game of the Years under his belt, so pretty excited to see what he can do on the Riot MMO. And another person that we found, which I think is pretty interesting, is Alex Arndt, the Insights Lead, Strategic Advisory Lead for the Riot MMO, which is actually really just a bunch of buzzwords for a job role. But I think for me, the more interesting thing is the description that he leaves in his LinkedIn. First and foremost, I think it's interesting to see that he's been working on the Riot MMO for 4 years and 8 months at this point. And during those 4 years and 8 months, he's ran playtests on some level. Most of these playtests are likely circled around validating that their actual design felt right and felt like the good direction for the game, which I think likely had a big part on their reset that happened back in 2023. He's also had his role in creating surveys for the League of Legends player base, finding out specifically what they want and inform on the direction for the Riot MMO. Very interesting stuff. I haven't done a full video on this guy yet, but I think if you take a look at just some of these things, make sure to pause it. You can see they're working pretty hard on this game. And that brings us to December of 2024, where unfortunately we got the news that VJ Tucker would be stepping down from Riot Games as a whole and moving on to another project that we don't know about yet. For many of you that follow my channel, you know that VJ started working at Riot Games on an MMO all the way back in 2016. This project was scrapped at some point. We don't know the exact date, but it is interesting to think that he was kind of the initial catalyst or one of the catalysts for creating an MMO within Riot Games. VJ definitely had his hand on the Riot MMO and the world of Runeterra, and I think him leaving, we got to keep in mind that just because he's leaving doesn't mean that all the work he's been doing on the project goes with him. So let's wish him best of luck on his future projects, and thank you for all the work he's done so far on the Riot MMO. And that brings us pretty much up until 2025. What do you guys think we're going to see from the MMO team moving forward? For me personally, I bet we just see some more job postings and maybe a little slip up here and there from Tryndamere over on his Twitch account.
Runeterra, bro, I cannot wait for Riot MMO.
Yep.
Either way, I look forward to covering this very, very highly anticipated, super exciting project moving forward into 2025 and beyond. Like I said at the beginning of the video, we'll be starting the year off with an everything we know about the project video. And then after that, I want to go into more speculative stuff about classes and the races, trade skills, the world as we know it of Runeterra. If you're into that kind of thing and you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.